Here we go. And welcome to another episode of enLIGHTen with Div and Diana. And we were just chatting about the concept of I couldn't have gotten here any sooner. Here, this moment, any sooner. And Diana has a relevant, timely example of that in her life. Share with us, babe.
So, the thing that I have been really actively working on for a couple of weeks now, actually, was that I wanted to dissolve the entire pattern and habit I had around what I labeled as anxiety and depression. And I put pretty much all my attention on that for a couple of weeks. And it was an amazing process because at first, nothing really happened. At first, it was like, nah, still happening. And then the weirdest thing started happening. I started hearing the thoughts that I associate with anxiety and depression, the patterns of anxiety and depression, as if they were occurring to another person in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, I could hear it, but not associate with it. And I stayed like that for about a week. And it was amazing, actually, because when you're hearing the anxiety thoughts without attachment, you're like, dude, that is so fucked up. Like, why are you doing that? No, stop. And so that went on for about a week. And then, sort of the end of last week, I had this moment where a huge well of grief came up. And I realized that what I wanted was a witness to the fact that when I had installed those patterns as a child, they were the best method I had. They were absolutely the only tools I had to keep little Diana safe. And I wanted to thank them for that and acknowledge them for that so that I could let them go. And that's what I did. And so that's why the statement that came to me in the last 24 hours is I want to move forward with a complete release of the patterns I called anxiety and depression. And so instead, I now have this awesome serenity muscle. It sits just here. It's in like there's the diaphragm and then the pericardial sac, which is like the same sort of tissuey thing. It's in there, and it's a muscle. And when I take a breath, it's like flexing the muscle like in a yoga way, like in a stretch way. And the heart calms, the breath deepens, and I just go, oh, it feels really good. And so that's where I got to. But as I was processing into that, a thought, I don't want to say childish because that's sort of infantilizing towards what a child is, which is an amazing thing. But this thought came up, and it's an old thought where you go, why didn't I do this like 10 years ago? Like, why couldn't I have done this even last week? Why could I not have been feeling free and calm in the way I am now 6 months ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever? Like, it doesn't matter. You sort of go, I wish I had done it sooner. And the really brilliant thing when that thought comes up, for me anyway, was I couldn't have even done this 1 minute sooner. Because you need all of it. The journey, the path, the things that happen, the moments you try and it doesn't work out, and there is no failure, only feedback. So you try a different way, and you try a different way, and keep going. And if it wasn't for the times when I tried things like ignoring my anxiety, I did that for a while. That was a great one because it just got louder. There was another one where I decided that I was just going to soldier through no matter how bad it got and never take time to feel the things I was feeling. That was brilliant. I ended up very icy. If it hadn't been for all these experiments that did not give me the results I wanted, I wouldn't have been able to find the experiment that did. And so that's why I came on today, because I just kind of went, I think a lot of us know that we can't do it 1 second sooner than it actually happens. I think a lot of us know, but it's up here. And in this moment, I have the ability to come here today and in here bring for you all to see, actually can't do it the moment before it happens. And I think a lot of the desire, like, I wish I had done this sooner, for me at least, came from, I wish I hadn't caused myself so much pain. Because a lot of the suffering that I've experienced in my mental and emotional states over the last few years has been of my own creation. It's my own opinions about other people's opinions about me that makes it all a jumble. And I just, even a week ago, I couldn't have been here with this new way of being. And it's not possible. Because I needed every little thing exactly as it happened. And it's not just that I appreciate that I had a journey that brought me here, because that's one side of the realizing that it couldn't have happened sooner. Like, you go like, well, I needed all of that to get here. But there's also this other thing, which is like, it's not appreciation, it's inevitable, but like in the good way. Everything in the universe came together to give me this thing. And the universe needed time as well. The universe needed to coalesce all around me as well, to give me all those things that got me to try the new experiments, that got me to here. And that's what I'm feeling.
Quite profound. Hearing you reflect on that brings me to the time when I too had it really kind of land in my body, that feeling, that knowingness that everything happens in perfect timing. And the recognition that all of the things that were missteps, that we thought were missteps, were really just part of the journey and the adventure. And yet, what I think is really powerful, what I see is really powerful, is asking the question, that childish part. And I do want to differentiate here between childish and childlike, because there are parts of us that are childish. Childish meaning, you know how children, they just can't see beyond their like little myopic view of the world. That's what a child does. Like, this is all that they can see. They don't have depth of field perception, the ability to dynamically recognize how things happen. So it is like the child inside is saying, why did we have all that suffering? Why did we, if we're the one that's doing it, like, why? I wish I would have gotten here sooner, right? That is a childish part that is saying that. And it is what I'm witnessing in that is Diana's mature adult part is saying, well, actually, darling, the part that has matured sufficiently to say, well, we couldn't have gotten here sooner, because all of the other things needed to happen the way that they happened for us to have the learning that we had in order to, the universe to craft what it was to craft, to have the experience. It had to happen the way it is.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Because everything we're both saying is 100% true, yet I wonder if it's something you can understand by words until you experience it, kind of thing. Because I would say that for a few years now, I've known up here that you can't get there till you get there. But it's really different to it's like a level of acceptance that I'm feeling today that I really, really believe it. Not that I know it. And it's a release. There's a bit of judgment in that. I wish I had done this sooner in my experience. That the other was bad. And it wasn't bad. That's not to say it didn't hurt, that it wasn't uncomfortable. It was also sometimes awesome. It was also sometimes good, but yeah. What am I saying? In the serenity that I'm feeling now, while I'm enjoying it, there's almost no preference for it. It's not like this is better than the other thing.
Yes.
I like operating this way. This is a much more enabling way to operate, to wake up in the morning and be like, I'm free. I'm going to go have some coffee and not have a mental breakdown about whether or not my milk is local. I don't know. Weird anxious thoughts that used to come up. Insert them there. This is great, but the other state isn't bad. It just was a different way I was operating that I have chosen not to operate in anymore because it wasn't really working anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what you're pointing to is the maturity that emerges when we recognize pain has a place, right? There is no pleasure without pain. They are opposite ends of the same spectrum, right? And even suffering serves us when we are able to appreciate it. Look at it through the lens of appreciation. So it's maturity. Childish thinking sees good, bad, happy, sad as separate opposites, different things. Whereas as we mature, there is an ability to recognize it's actually the same spectrum, and you can't really have pleasure without pain, and we know things relative to one another, and things are relational to each other. And so there is what I'm seeing in you is a deepening of that acceptance of that had to happen for me to have the experience that I have now. And the releasing of the judgment in it, and the preference that, why did we cause ourselves suffering? Well, you could have done better at that time. You could have done differently.
Really
you would have done differently, right?
There's actually I couldn't. And when I first got stuck on this, I remember it was actually a few years. I think we were walking to a show at the Opera House together, and it was the first time I was really sticking on this thing of why couldn't I have done it sooner? Why did I think it was actually in relation to something to do with my family. Why couldn't I have learned to talk to them better sooner? And you brilliantly, if I remember correctly, asked me the question, could you have known that there's better communication if you hadn't had struggling communication? And for me, that was like a clicking moment. I don't think that's exactly the way you phrase it, because you phrase things way better than I do. But it's that thing of would you have known the pleasure of being, I'll say it in relation to my current experience, would I know the pleasure of this calm serenity that I'm feeling if I hadn't experienced the twisty anxiety bit? Would I have known how to love so deeply and freely, without conditions on the relationship, if I hadn't had some very conditional love at points in my life? And the answer is no. I might have had those things, but I wouldn't have the experience of them, because it's the match in the darkness thing. A match in a well-lit room, you're like, yeah, there's a match there. Meh. A match in a completely darkened room sees light. When you have the contrast, you can actually really appreciate it.
Yes. The contrast is essential, vital. Yeah. It seems like a really profound message to end on. If ever the thought, I wish I had done it sooner, or if this had happened sooner, comes up, can appreciate the things that are essential along the way, and the importance of the contrast, the value of the contrast.
Mm.
I too share with you in that deep knowing that I wouldn't treasure the joy and bliss that I experienced today, the way that I experienced it, if I had not had so many years of suffering and struggle.
Mm.
And that suffering and struggle gives added depth
Mm.
to the richness and serenity that I experienced. Yeah. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for joining us on today's episode, and back next week with whatever is current then. We do have a workshop coming up on Sunday, Inner Parenting. I will pop a link in the comments below. And if you are interested in helping some of those pots of yours mature, we all have younger pots, and they do need our support in maturing, then check out this workshop and join us if it speaks to you. Bye for now.